How many of you had an experience similar to this in barber or cosmo school? The school I went to was pretty much brand new. It was less than a year old when I attended. By the time I started, I don't think anyone had graduated at that time. There was a bunch of people that got all their hours, but to my knowledge, no one had passed the written and practical at the time that I started. Now, again, it was a new school. The owner of the school was also the instructor. There was another instructor that worked with the Spanish speaking students. So she had a whole different schedule and they were very isolated from the English speaking students. So that said, we did an hour of theory a day. The Spanish speaking class went first, then we went for an hour, and then after theory was done, they let us on the floor and we just waited for people to come in and let us cut their hair. Now, I got into school at 36. I was 36 years old, and at the time, the state requirement was 1,500 hours in Texas. Now, that program was designed to be 9 months long. I would literally show up every morning when we opened at 9 a.m. and I would leave every night at 8 p.m. Now, it was Tuesday through Saturday. Saturdays, I think they got done at 4, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they opened at 9 and we got done at 8. So I was there open to close. I actually got my hours sooner than I was supposed to, but they didn't catch it and it wasn't my problem. So I actually got done with the program in about 8 months. But while I was there, they wouldn't let me cut right away. They made me wait a couple days. I told them I've been cutting hair since 93. I knew what I was doing. And I'm sure they've heard that they hear that from everybody. But like the third or fourth day I was in the program, I was actually able to cut someone's hair. I killed it. I knocked it out really quickly. Like, I've always been fast at cutting hair. It's just never been something I took a long time with once I figured out what I was doing. So did a cut or two that first day. And by the end of my first week in school, I noticed that they were so understaffed that when other students would try to cut someone's hair, they struggled so much and no one was there to help them. The owner of the school, she was also working as a barber. So she was having her clients come to the shop. She would take care of them and she would just leave the students to figure it out, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's valuable in a way, but I do think that there are some instances where she should have been more hands-on, but she was a serial entrepreneur. She had a lot going on, and her chief concern was making money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like the students didn't get a fair shake right off the bat because they were understaffed. So within the first week I was there, I had been asked by the owner to be like a student aid, student instructor kind of situation. So basically I was helping all the students get through cuts if they ever struggled. And I preferred that because I knew they were pimping me out at barber school. I just knew that's what that was. Like, for example, the owner, whenever her clients would come in and she couldn't get to them, she would ask me to cut them. She would charge them full price, keep the money. And if they tipped, then she'd let me get the tips. And when I realized that was happening, I said, oh, no, I just gave up. And so I just strictly went to helping students. And if no one needed anything, I just sat in the break room all day. I've heard from other people from several different schools that that's just kind of how it is. I feel like most of these schools, their chief concern is keeping the lights on. And that's a pretty big deal. I understand it, especially as a 4-year shop owner. That is absolutely like the first priority of a business owner, is to make sure they can cover their expenses and overhead. So I get it. I feel bad for people that weren't as prepared as I was. I had literally decades of retail experience. I had decades of cutting hair experience, whether it was cutting my own hair for decades or cutting my friends and family's hair for decades. So I came to school not really needing school. I just needed the hours. I just needed to learn the stuff in theory. But I personally believe that most states would be better off alleviating schools. I think most states need to go to the apprenticeship model exclusively. I think you could do 40 hours of book work online in a module, and in like a 6-month apprenticeship program at, a barbershop with a quote unquote master barber. That would be what I think would be more beneficial, because the schools that I've experienced and talked to people about, is that system is not working. Now, I will say this post asked, what's a good thing about your time in beauty school? The good thing for me was it was a bittersweet thing. The good thing was it gave me a ton of confidence that I was going to get out, and when I got my license, that I was going to be a problem. And I was right, because when I got in school, I cut as well as the instructor, and honestly, I cut better than the instructor. I cut faster than the instructor. I was more polished. I had more people skills. Like, there was definitely like some, there were some butting of heads. And I think it was because there was some insecurity that a student was cutting better than the instructor or the owner of the school. So that gave me a ton of confidence that if she could be successful, I'm finna eat. And I was right. Now, like I said, the bitter part of it was I waited till I was 36 because I was scared, because I didn't have the confidence, because I didn't know anything about the industry, and I didn't know how well I would do in the industry, and I assumed that I wouldn't do well. Now, that's nobody's problem but my own. That's nobody's fault but my own. But that would be the worst thing about it for me. Let me know what you guys' experiences were in school. If you guys had a similar experience to me, I know a lot of you have, but I'd love to hear from you. I am Sean Cuss H on social media. I recently activated my Red Note account. I don't know how to get the user interface to show English. So while I'm working through that, I will be also streaming on TikTok, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, sometimes Facebook, Instagram, and like I said, recently Red Note. Please let all the buttons do all the things. Make sure you follow me, share this video with someone that might have an experience worth talking about. I appreciate y'all time. Let all the buttons do all the things. And again, catch me on Red Note if you haven't been on there yet.